the sponsorships and tickets, and everything was ready to go. We're 4 days out, and I got a call saying the convention center is being padlocked, closed at midnight tonight. It's done. So in that one phone call, I lost $870,000. It's a little bit like this, Matt. When you've climbed that mountain and you've had such a fucking good time doing it, it's kind of like, what are we going to do now? Kind of pick up the pieces and try and do that again. We already did it, And I think, and this is not on Arnold, I think the whole event space has changed too. The big companies who are building the big 3-story booths, they don't want to put money into expos anymore. The one person who constantly reached out to me during those lockdowns, made sure I was okay, made sure that I could do my bodybuilding shows was Jim Manion. And Jim is one of the few people that checked in on me, if not every week, every second week for that whole time. And my loyalty to Jim and his family and what he did for me, when a lot of people just, they know you're doing it tough, so they don't call. And people say, oh, it's politics. And when I do my posing seminars and bodybuilding seminars here, I always say, look at the first year that Hadi Choopan beat Derek Lunsford at the Olympia. That was really close. I remember, because I'm backstage, I can see what's going on. I knew after prejudging it was just a couple of points in it. Now, if it was politics and it was rigged, you're going to give it to the guy that wears the hearing aid, no offense to him, from a village in Iran who can't speak English, who can't really promote the sport, or you're going to give it to the all-American boy, Derek, right, who praises the Lord, he's got piercing green eyes, and he's handsome, and he's engaging, and he can talk, and he's just the poster boy for bodybuilding. But it's close. Who wins? He needs to suffer. He needs more pain. I mean, you look at Hadi Choopan's condition. That's no fucking accident, man. And I've interviewed Hadi Rambod about this, and he goes, you got no idea. He goes, I've got to literally pull this guy out of the gym. How people, in his day, they do train till they bled, and then they do an hour's posing every day. And some of these guys aren't willing to do that. So, and I've said this to Samson, he's got to take his conditioning to that next level. He's got all the muscle in the world. The other one that I think's got just as much potential and is frightening is Andrew Jack. But the Olympia, come on, everyone wants to be Mr. Olympia. Yeah. And when you look at how the prize money is spread across those divisions, I think it's a stupid conversation that people even had at the time. So, Arnold, what's the Olympia got to do? The Olympia's got to do fucking nothing. Okay. And the Olympia this year is doing their 60th anniversary on the Strip in Vegas at Resorts World. I watch those guys closely, see what they're doing, and I can tell you, this is going to be the greatest Olympia of all time.
Turned pro. You said you saw Dorian's first show in America. The experiences you had is amazing. Yep. Who is your all-time? Does it mean that they're the best? But just in your eyes, most impressive, most shocking. This guy is on another level than everyone else.
It's not even my opinion. It's a fact. Yeah. There's only been one Ronnie Coleman, man.
Yes.
Listen, last year in 2023, it was 20 years since we saw that 296-pound Ronnie Coleman at the 2003 Olympia. And to this day, he would have won every Olympia since then in that shape. No one's ever going to touch that.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Muscle Discord. And we have another very special guest on the show today with me, Tony Doherty. Man, welcome to the show.
It's nice to be here, Matt. We've been trying to line this up for a little bit, so nice to be on.
Thank you. I'm glad we were able to make it work and get our schedules together. I know you're in Melbourne, Australia, correct?
Correct.
Yes. And man, I wanted to have you on the show because you're another one of those kind of, I think, iconic figures in our sport, because you've been instrumental in, the shows that you've run with your gym that you have over there. We'll get into all of that. You've emceed many shows, many pro shows throughout the years. And you've met anyone and everyone in bodybuilding, from the great legends and far in there between. You've met them, you've been there, you've done that. So you have so much experience to give, and your opinion to me matters. And I know people value your opinion because you have that experience, because you've seen it all. So I love to have people like you on the show to pick your brain and shoot the shit and get your opinion on what's going on in bodybuilding nowadays. So we're going to jump into that as well. So we already talked about where you live, Melbourne, Australia. Were you born in Melbourne?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, born here. Grew up in the country town, like an hour and a half from here. Okay. And then I started Doherty's gym here in Melbourne. It was 30 years in April just gone. So, 30 years of come to the gym every day and building a brand.
Awesome. I know you've done that. And what got you involved in the industry in bodybuilding? Other than, I know you started the gym, but like what aside, because either you're like passionate about bodybuilding or just working out. So,
man, pretty simple. I was a kid in a little country town and like an hour and a half from Melbourne, and I didn't like the dream they were selling. They're trying to tell us at school, go to college, get a degree or become an accountant or a fucking school teacher or something. It just wasn't for me. And it's a funny thing because when I was, I think, 14, I was watching TV one night with my dad, and Arnold come on TV promoting his book called The Education of a Bodybuilder. I guess it was like 1978 or something, and he was doing an Australian tour promoting this book. And I saw this guy. I'd never seen like a live bodybuilder before. And I just said to my dad, what's that? And he goes, that's a bodybuilder. I go, can anyone do that? And he goes, yeah, I guess so. We lose some weight, go to the gym or something. And I just had this light bulb moment. And I'm like, I'm going to be a bodybuilder, a promoter, and a gym owner. And I'm going to get to know this Arnold guy one day. And he's going to know who I am. And I just chose that path when I was 14 years old, and that's what I did.
It came to fruition, that's for sure. We'll get into that about Arnold. So how many, I always look at your stories and you're like, I'm in a different city at another Doherty's gym. Like how many gyms do you have now?
Well, I've got 3 here in Melbourne, and we have one here in Perth, which is the opposite side of Australia, a little bit like I guess we're on the East Coast, so Melbourne's on east, like New York, and Perth is right over on the West Coast, like the distance from New York to Los Angeles. So just 4 gyms. We had a couple more pre-COVID, but we're kind of expanding too quick, and you kind of learn your strengths and weaknesses and lean back into your strengths. So
let's talk about that a little bit. You were very vocal on the lockdowns during COVID. Let's jump back into that. Like, how was that experience for you? The gyms being, in Australia was very.
I hate talking about it. So Melbourne was the most locked down city in the whole wide world.
Yes.
And on top of that, gyms, we were treated differently than retail and hospitality and all the other businesses. So our total lockdown, when I say lockdown, I'm talking about lock and key, padlock, government intervention, this kind of shit. We were locked down. Our gyms were padlocked shut for 367 days over the 6 lockdowns. So, I started being approached through mainstream media as a spokesperson for the fitness industry. And I guess initially they went to a lot of, fighters and kickboxing guys and, raging gym owners who couldn't put 2 words together. And I had some great media training, interviewing Arnold all over the world, and learned how to talk to mainstream media and conduct myself really well. So I stayed polite and articulate, but also stuck to the point and talked a little bit about the benefits of exercise for mental health, and a lot about, how it was a coping mechanism for people that have been taken off them, and just tried to present, fair and articulate arguments to keep us front of mind. And then it snowballed, and I started being a regular on all the late night talk shows and everything here, as I guess a social commentator. And in the end, we took the government to task. I took on the Victorian government and basically threatened them with illegally leaving us shut when other businesses were open, with no body of evidence to say that gyms were hotbeds of infection, all the shit that they were making up and lying about. And in the end, we had a little win. It was very last lockdown, but the Minister for Health did a press conference. He said, before we start, we just want to acknowledge that gyms are not hotbeds of infection, and they will be opening the same day as hospitality and retail. And that's all I was fighting for. So, despite the losses, it felt like we had a little win. And I was able to be there for the industry that's given me everything I've ever had. So, you take your positives from it, Matt, and my profile, got a lot of exposure, and the brand did through that. But since then, I've been invited back on a lot of TV and talkback radio and stuff like that. Just about different social things are going on. So that might be a new path. Who knows?
Yeah, definitely. And you definitely were a fighter for the gyms and advocating for them to stay open. And at the end of that, you got a little win there, but it must have been devastating.
That was tough, man. I mean, just mentally, like in Melbourne, we had a night curfew. So you couldn't leave your home from 9 p.m. at night till 6 in the morning. There was like police patrols. You couldn't go 5 kilometers from your home. That's 3 miles. You couldn't go to any work without a permit. You're basically just locked up. But, the liquor stores stayed open, the supermarket stayed open, stuff like that. So you couldn't go to the gym, but you could go and get a bottle of vodka or Jack. In fact, you could have it delivered. And that was never impacted. So it was kind of crazy. And I hate talking about it, to be honest, because it's just like a dark cloud on everyone's life that we got through. And it was funny because each time we'd come out of it, you'd be all positive. Shit, we're open again. This is going to be awesome. And then after 6 fucking lockdowns, man, a lot of us became quite reclusive. And it's taken, a couple of years to learn how to integrate and socialize and be around people again. It's really complicated psychological stuff.
Yeah, I hope that never happens again.
I don't think
it's a nightmare. I don't think it's.
Look, I think they realise now that there was a massive overreaction. And they could have handled it better. And I don't think they set out. I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything, but it was like we were a giant fucking experiment for the world, and let's see how hard we can lock these people down. But you move on, and you just you have to reinvent yourself sometime. And I mean, financially, it was so tough too, because initially, everyone got their rent paid for and job subsidies and all this. But the longer it went on, the less of that became real. In fact, the last lockdown, I cut a hole in the window at the front of my gym and sold protein shakes and coffees out of the window through winter, 12 hours a day for 63 days straight. Wow. And if I hadn't have done that, we would have lost the business. So, I was just one person just standing in this fucking cold window, shivering. And people were allowed to drive during the day, for example, to get a coffee or a shake or to pick up some merch, whatever. And people, I guess, because I'd been into bat for the industry, I got tremendous support. And people would just come and say, hey, we're going to help you to keep the doors open. But it was a pretty humbling kind of experience.
Yeah, and we made it through, thank God. And I wanted to transition into your relationship with Arnold. Okay, so you've run the Arnold Sports Festival in Australia multiple times. First off, what's an update with the Arnold Australia? When was the last Arnold Australia that you had? I know it was pre-COVID, but there hasn't been one since.
We were getting ready for our 6th Arnold Australia, and I went to Columbus, Ohio, to MC the Arnold Classic there and to do Arnold's interviews and stuff, and be part of the team. And we're flying out of here. I guess it was, the first Saturday of March. So it would have been, we're leaving here like on the Wednesday, the start of March, and we're about to take off. And I started getting these messages from people saying, hey, put on, some American news service. Check this out. We'd never heard about this pandemic or anything. And I started seeing that they were going to close the expo down in Columbus. And so I called the Lorimers, and they're like, just come out anyway. The Arnold Festival, the Arnold Sports, the Arnold Classic will still be going ahead. Just come. So we flew out there, and, parts of the expo got closed down, and everyone was just kind of, what the fuck's going on here, And I'm like, that'll never happen in Australia. We're pretty chill about all that kind of stuff. And we're, isolated. We're in this little island. Far away from everywhere. So, we were due to do our Arnold Australia 2 weeks later. So flew back, and then a week later, the Formula One Grand Prix was on in Melbourne, which is a kind of big deal. And they started to let people into the track. I'm like, I remember one morning I was on the treadmill and I'm watching the news, and I'm like, wow, we're going to be fine, because the Grand Prix goes ahead. We're only 6 days away, 7 days away now. We're going to be fine. And we've done all the bodybuilding, qualifying regional events for the pro qualifier that was going to be on and so on. And then I think it was like 40 minutes later, they started walking people out of the track and said, we're going to do this with no audience. And I'm like, we're next weekend. I'm fucked.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I hung in there and waited, and I got a call from the Melbourne Convention Exhibition Centre, which I'd already paid for. On the Sunday before, we're due to start our setup on the Wednesday morning, 6 a.m., for a Friday show, because it was a 3-day festival here.
Yeah.
We sold the sponsorships and tickets, and everything was ready to go. We're 4 days out, and I got a call saying the convention centre is being padlocked, closed at midnight tonight. It's done. So in that one phone call, I lost $870,000. People said, well, how? Didn't you get your money back from the venue? Yeah, I did. But I'd had 8 full-time staff working for 12 months. I'd done all the radio ads. I'd done the TV ads. And anyone who's been and done my shows in Australia, they know I do all the billboards on the freeways, all the digital boards, the rock posters under all the bridges and everything. So we'd spent our whole advertising budget, and they delivered. They'd done the ads as promised.
Yeah.
I had 8 staff on, from a chief of staff to graphic designers to event planners, salespeople, security, blah blah blah. You've paid someone their wages for 12 months. You can't get that back.
Yeah.
So in that one phone call, man, I lost a lot. And Arnold, no one was able to travel. And the worst thing was I had, over 200 athletes and influencers in airports all over the world calling me saying, should we get on the plane or not? Should we get on the plane or not? And, we changed flights and we hung out. And, a lot of the flights I didn't get a refund on because, we kept changing the flight to the last minute, and for example, I had a great reputation, or I still do, I think, with all the bodybuilders. It was our 21st or 20th Australian Pro. It was the third longest running pro show in the world after the Olympia and Arnold Columbus. And it got cancelled, and for example, Rami called me and he was leaving Kuwait and he said, listen, there's something going on with all these lockdowns. Mr. Tony, please tell me, am I safe to get on a plane? Because once I go to Dubai to come to Australia, I can't go back to my family for 30 days at least. I said, just give me a minute. So I called at that stage, called the government and called the convention, said, no, everything's fine. So I called Rami, who was already on the plane. He said, I'll do it for you, but if this turns to shit, I can't go back. So while he was flying Kuwait to Dubai, this all happened. He gets to Dubai. Poor guy was stuck there for a whole month just because he was trying to support me. So the burden and the weight of that on my shoulders, the fact there was already athletes here, some of the bikini girls and bodybuilders and, people had come in with the supplement companies to be on their booths and that sort of thing. It was overwhelming, man. And then it was just taken away from us. And I didn't recover from that. So we said, we'll do it next year. So a lot of the sponsors and the exhibitors left their money in. Some people got refunds on their tickets. Some said, we'll just come next year. I'm like, well, shit, this pandemic can't go for a whole year for sure. And so we worked. So then I kept, instead of 8 staff, I had 5 staff, which we kept on for another year. Yeah. And paid them out of savings and whatever else, tickets and sponsorship that was left. And a year later, it got cancelled again. Man, so now I've lost $1.4 million. And this is not opportunity money. This is money I spent to keep people in their jobs. Yeah. And then, we rebranded and said, well, maybe we'll do it without Arnold and just do it, with a different celebrity each year because he didn't want to travel. And, and fair enough too. Everyone was in this unknown territory with this pandemic. Yeah. And then the next one that we sort of started to roll out, that got cancelled twice. So then I'm just like, you know what, fuck that. I'm not going to do expos. I can't lose any more because then I'm going to lose my gyms and my home and everything else. So unfortunately, we had to call it quits and say, look, there won't be an Arnold Australia, not at this stage or going forward because, I have to put up the money and I just lost all this money. So now I've got to fight like hell. And luckily I kept doing the bodybuilding shows, and even that that year of 2020 when the pandemic started, I had the pro qualifier on at the Arnold Classic, and we'd done 5 regional shows around Australia with all the states. Literally had hundreds of athletes going for that pro card. So I went. We couldn't do the convention center, so I actually rented like an underground warehouse, and we didn't tell anyone where it was going to be till the night before, right? And we messaged all the competitors and said, "This is the address. Don't tell anyone. We're going to go ahead and do the event." And at that stage, you were still allowed to have 100 people inside a venue. So we did an underground show and gave away those pro cards because we promised we would. Yeah. And that was the last thing we did for the next 3 years, man. That was that killed us. But the one person who constantly reached out to me during those lockdowns, made sure I was okay, made sure that I could do my bodybuilding shows was Jim Manion. And Jim is one of the few people that checked in on me, if not every week, every second week for that whole time. And my loyalty to Jim and his family and what he did for me, when a lot of people just, they know you're doing it tough, so they don't call, and Jim, Big Steve as well. And, all my American pro league family, kept me upright. They really did. I'd be forever grateful. And there's nothing I wouldn't do for them.
But it also shows the testament that you have, like the passion to invest your own hard-earned money in the Arnold, and then it gets shut down, and then you do it again, and it gets shut down, and then you still keep going, and you do an underground warehouse show like that. That's why I have you on, because that's how involved, that's how committed you are, and how much passion you have in this industry. And it's just like that's far and few between to find people like you. So really appreciate what you've done.
Look, in life, you have to find a way forward. You can't, and it's one thing I learned from being around some great people, including Arnold, is that when someone says no, I don't hear no. I just hear find a way. And somehow we just kept finding ways to get through. And, whatever it took, I don't mind. I remember the first year that I did the Arnold Classic, and I had to meet with Arnold, and he goes, well, what do you bring to the table? We're already doing Spain and we're doing South America, and, they've got government support. They've got this. And I said, man, I got nothing. I said, but I'll outwork everyone. I said, I'll go home now. It's 367 days until the first Arnold Classic. I won't have a day off. I won't have a fucking weekend or an evening. I won't do nothing but work. And he saw something in me, and this no quit kind of attitude that maybe I inherited. I don't know. I just don't quit, man. I don't consider it. I don't think about it. I just get up every day and go, right, what can I do today? So I'm tired when I go to bed tonight.
Yeah. So are you going to do another Arnold? Have you been speaking to the team over there, or is that in the works, or is it just like?
Straight answer, no. I haven't heard from them regarding that. I think I'm not sure what's going on with the other Arnolds around the world or what the deal is. Yeah. And there's no bad blood there. Last time I was in LA. In fact, I was there 3 weeks ago when I first reached out to you, or you reached out to me. Yeah. And I called Arnold's office to see if he was about, but he was filming in Canada. So personally, we're cool. But as a business model, and for me to recover from that, like the deposit for the convention center. Well, the convention center here in Melbourne for their 3-day event is over $600,000 rent. Wow. Right. So your deposit alone is $120,000 12 months out if you can get the date. Wow. And I just don't have that to put up and to do anymore. And I'm not willing to. It's a little bit like this. I got to work with my idol for 7 years straight. I traveled to every single Arnold Classic in the world from 2014 to 2020. I didn't miss one. Yeah. I got to go to Brazil every year, to Columbus every year. I got to MC the Arnold in Columbus twice, which was always my dream. I MC'd the Arnold in South Africa. I MC'd it in Brazil. I did all Arnold's press conferences around the world. I became his interviewer and friend. I went to his office many times. I went to his home many times. I rode in his tank. I did shit that this kid from a little country town couldn't have even dreamed up, and I had wild dreams, and I have no regrets. But it's a little bit like this, Matt. When you've climbed that mountain and you've had such a fucking good time doing it, it's kind of like, what are we going to do now? Kind of pick up the pieces and try and do that again. We already did it, and I think and this is not on Arnold. I think the whole event space has changed too. The big companies who are building the big 3-story booths, they don't want to put money into expos anymore. No. And expos cost, people don't realize, hundreds of thousands of dollars to run. To set up and run an expo of that size here now would be somewhere between 1.2 and 1.4 million. All right, and that's with prize money and hotels. And I did stuff that a lot of promoters don't do, and it's not a slight on them. It's just how I wanted to conduct myself. When I first started the Australian Pro in 2001, no one wanted to come. They're like, "Fuck, that's too far." Yeah. And the prize money ain't great. It's like 20,000, and and because the Australian dollar is always weak compared to the US one, I'm like, "How am I going to do this?" I thought the only thing I can do better than anyone else is hospitality, is to look after people. And I'd travelled as a bodybuilder and with the Australian Pro bodybuilders for years, and seen, for example, I took some guys to the Ironman one year, and no one picked us up at the airport. We got put in a hotel. We had to pay for our room. There was no food waiting. There was only room service. It took us like 20-something hours to get there. And then you get in at 2 a.m, there's fucking, pasta on a menu, on a late night menu, or a club sandwich. And like, these guys have put 6 months into this. There's no food. So when I started the Australian Pro, I thought, I'm going to do stuff that no one else has done. So I made sure every single athlete was picked up at the airport, no matter from where in the world they came or what time of day it was. I made sure that not only did I pay for their hotels, but I got them apartments. So they had cooking facilities in their rooms. So they had an oven and a fridge, and I'd have that fridge stocked with everything. Then we'd have kind of like a barbecue grill here at the gym. So my crew would pick them up from the airport, or I'd pick them up myself. They'd come down here to the gym, and we'd have laid out for them chicken breasts, lean steak, grilled fish, baked potatoes, sweet potatoes, steamed rice, all the stuff that I know as an athlete that competitors need after a 20-hour journey. And, the word spread. The athletes would call each other, and big kudos to Chris Cormier, who was the first one who'd call Dexter and Dennis James and all those guys, become like family to us, because they all came multiple times, because they'd say to all the other pros, they'd say to Melvin Anthony, and they'd say it to King Kamali and Titus and all those guys, listen, if you're going to do one show, travel anywhere in the world, go down to Australia with Tony, because he know how to look after people, and then we'd do the shows, and I'd have them out selling their 8x10 pictures, and I'd literally get up on their table and scream out, "Hey, Chris Cormier's in the house, line up now, you fuckers, and spend some money." And they'd all make more money here than anywhere else. But they got treated like proper athletes, and that's all I had. I didn't have a huge budget or a backing or a team behind me or any of this shit. I just had just this, and I just knew how to use my I guess skill set and brain and hustle to look after people right, and that's how the Australian Pro became so popular and so famous. And then when Arnold started looking after 2011, when he'd finished being governor, and he's still going to take this Arnold's Classic worldwide, so I was watching that space very carefully. So I thought, I'll build an expo here, just like his. So I made my Australian Pro was already a week or 2 weeks after the Arnold Classic, and had been since the start. And then when he went to Spain and then Brazil, I thought, well, Australia's got to be next. So in the meantime, I'd built an expo called FitX, where we had a multitude of sports. We had the pro bodybuilding show. We had everything along the same lines and the same kind of mentality and business plan that Arnold had used all these years. And I'd been to Columbus heaps of times, and from the first time I went there, I'm going to do that in Australia one day, and I'm going to be Arnold's partner. I just don't know how. So when he did Spain and he did Brazil, and he said, the next continent I'm going to take over is Australia. So honest to God, I just sat there and waited for the phone to ring. I thought, well, I'm his only choice. This is not going to happen by accident. I've built a product that when he goes to Jim Manion, and when he goes to my publicist, and when he goes to the media, and when he goes to anyone, they're all going to say, there's only one guy to work with in Australia, that's Tony. So, that's how it worked out. So when I got a call up from his team to go and meet him and put my case forward. I'm like, fuck it, that's me. This is what I've been waiting my whole life for this. I actually planned this subconsciously when I was a kid. I just didn't know how I was going to do it.
It came to fruition. You envisioned it into reality, and that's a lot of people do that. It works.
I say to people, listen, you can have all the fucking dreams in the world.
Yeah.
You've got to have passion, you've got to have vision, and you've got to have action. But your vision's no good if it's delusional. So to me, the vision had to be real. There had to be a way that when he did look at Australia and knew he would, that he'd bypass anyone else on the radar and just zone in on me and say, this guy is the only choice.
Yeah.
So I put myself in that position consciously and purposely because that was my destiny and that's what I wanted to do. So, when people say, oh, would you do it all again? If it all lined up the right way and it wasn't such a financial kick in the balls, of course I would. But could we do better than we did in those first few years of the Arnold here? Fuck no, man. It was unbelievable. Yeah. We'd have literally hundreds of pros coming out. Jay Cutler would come every year. Phil Heath would come every year. Kai Green would come every year because I was friends with them. Yeah. Jay, one of the nicest guys in bodybuilding, he'd pay his own way out here to support our show. Flex Lewis would come out every year. Kai never missed. And I'd get onto their sponsors and say, hey, you should bring Phil or Kai, and they would. And then we'd set it up so they had lines of people all day and we spoiled them rotten. And, we had some great dinners and parties with Arnold. We, hired boats and did all kinds of things to give people an experience they'd never forget. And I just don't know how the fuck you can beat that.
No, not nowadays. It's too expensive and inflation and everything. And like you said, it's going to cost way more to do it.
It's not only that, Matt. It's after you lose over $1 million. It's like, shit, first I've got to get that back. Yeah. And then I've got to get some more just to put a deposit down. It's not possible.
Yeah, I see that. And it's too bad there's not some investors out there that would help invest it, because this could be a long road for you to recoup your money. But at least if you did it 2, 3, 4 years in a row, the Arnold again, you recoup your money, and then you did it for another 5 or so years. It's a longer journey.
I don't think you're right. I think you're wrong.
Okay.
I don't think that space is the same as what it was.
Okay.
And the way the expos make money is from big exhibitors building big booths and bringing in a shit ton of people that sell tickets, and that it's just not real anymore.
It's changed.
It has. But what's good, and you got to find the positives, is Pro League internationally, and what we're doing with bodybuilding, with Jim and Tyler and Robin and the whole team is phenomenal. Okay. We said we're going to make bodybuilding great again. It's never been so great. There's never been a time in history where bodybuilding has been this strong. And that was, I come from bodybuilding. I fucking love it. So we promote about 15, 17 shows a year out here. Okay. We've broken, in the last 2 years, every record ever set with the numbers of competitors, the numbers of divisions, the number of people turning pro, the number of Australians competing overseas, qualifying for the Olympia, the number of sponsors, exhibitors, and fans. We built this huge fan base where I do a lot of live work, and I go around with the microphone before each show, live on the big screen. We call it roaming TD, and I crack a few jokes and just go up to unsuspecting people. What do you do? What's your name? What are you doing here? Okay, you're Matt. Who are you here to support? And the last year, more and more and more times, I do that at the start of the show, and people be like, hey, man, I'm just here to see the show. I don't know anyone in it. I just love your shows. Yeah. So we've created this product now, which is beyond going to see little Johnny do his first show and support him because I work with him or go to the gym with him. No, we've created this really great fan base here in Australia. And I'm getting so much pleasure and fun out of doing that I wouldn't change it. Honestly, I fucking love it.
Good. Okay. Well, speaking of the Arnold, the prize money, Arnold announced $500,000 first place for next year. What are your thoughts on that? And what do you think that's going to do to the Olympia? Is Olympia going to follow suit and match that or beat that? What's your intel? What's your gut?
This is my opinion only.
Yeah.
That helps one person, right? Okay. So you put up the prize money by 100,000 for first place. Only one person gets that. Everyone else is just the same. Yeah. You can't compare that to the Olympia. You look at the total prize money of the Olympia. It's I don't know how many times more, but it's hundreds and hundreds of thousands, $1 million more.
Okay.
The Olympia has put up the prize money, not just first place, but right through to 10th and 15th place for all the athletes. The classic physique, the men's physique, the women's bikini, the wellness, the physique, the figure, the bodybuilding. Dude, what Jake and Dan and the team with the Olympia have done with the prize money for the athletes, it's the highest it's ever been in the history of our sport. Double, it can't even compare. And it's not a dick move from Arnold. I think it's really cool because he's going to get a couple of the top guys going to do that one class. But does it do anything for the classic physique or the board short guys? No, nothing.
No.
But the Olympia, come on, everyone wants to be Mr. Olympia.
Yeah.
And when you look at how the prize money is spread across those divisions, I think it's a stupid conversation that people even had at the time. So, Arnold, what's the Olympia got to do? The Olympia's got to do fucking nothing.
Okay.
And the Olympia this year is doing their 60th anniversary on the Strip in Vegas at Resorts World. I watch those guys closely to see what they're doing, and I can tell you this is going to be the greatest Olympia of all time because they've got a huge team working on not one prize money, one division. I mean, that's really generous of Arnold. I think it's as cool as fuck. Well done, Arnold. But let's keep it separate. There's the Arnold Classic now with a huge first prize for the winner. Yeah. But the Mr. Olympia, come on.
Yeah, it's the Super Bowl. Okay.
Right.
So, yeah, and it's going to be at the Resorts World, which is going to be awesome. I'm planning on going. I'm hoping I'm going to make it down there and experience.
Well, I'll be there, and I'll be doing all my interviews for
I'll see you there.
News Online.
Yes.
I've been blessed that I guess for 12, maybe 14 years, I've done all the backstage interviews at the Olympias with everyone. I've got a great rapport with the athletes. Whenever I do the interviews, JM tells me they rate really, really well.
They do.
Love my bullshit, and I've got a great rapport with the athletes, so I can get them to, open up a little bit. Or, sometimes it's hard. I mean, man, those years where it was so close with Phil and Kai, and I'd have to go and get Kai out of a corner and say, dude, you're going to have to do this interview. I know it's going to hurt, but I'll walk you through it. I can hold your hand. I'll make sure you're okay. Some of that stuff was brutal, but I think on film those years, we got some of the best interview stuff ever in bodybuilding. So I'm really grateful to be able to do that and to be who I am in the sport. And, you remember where you've come from and you give back and you give back and you give back. And it's something Arnold always said, you've got to give back. So that's my way of giving back, man. I fly to every show I can. I've just got back from doing the interviews at Pittsburgh and at the New York Pro. And, look at Steve Weinberger. He'd come out all the way from New York to judge the Australian Pro for me every year without fail because he's my friend. And so people say, it's a long way to go. Help out at New York, man. I'd do anything. I'd empty the fucking rubbish. I'd stand there and hand out wristbands. I'd do the interviews. Last year in Pittsburgh, people don't see this side of it. Me and Jim Manion were there, late at night, moving all the chairs because they'd been set up wrong. He's an 80-year-old guy and his Aussie mate rearranging all the chairs to make sure that the people that bought tickets had a great view of the competition. Yeah. See, people at this level, we've all done it hard at times, but we love our sport. Yeah. And that's why I'm really defensive of the Pro League and of all the people that have given me an opportunity because I know they fucking love it. They don't do it for money and they don't do it for a pat on the back or adulation. They do it, and I do it because we love it. And it's that simple. Yeah. And that's the passion. Definitely
the passion is there. I wanted to kind of pick your brain a little bit on, because you do give critiques of athletes. And nowadays in social media, it seems to have gone to the point where when you're critiquing an athlete, people will say you're trashing that athlete. And, that guy needs to work on his conditioning, or, the glutes need to be better, or whatever. What's your take on the whole social media aspect of things and how maybe the fans or even some of the athletes overreact to just constructive criticism? You're on social media now. You're putting yourself out there. You're going to get critiqued. It's a changing space, Matt.
First of all, I don't really critique athletes online. I don't know where you got that from because it's not my bag,
Or just giving your opinion on how they looked or how they performed.
I do it to their face, you know.
Yeah.
If someone asks for my opinion, I talk straight with them. I don't bang on social media. One of the things that really, really fucking grinds me and pisses me off is when someone's not at a show and they watch a fucking video or see a picture which may or may not have been enhanced online, and then they become an expert and they critique a physique, or so-and-so should have won this show, or so-and-so should have won that show. I'll give an example. When Martin Fitzwater won in Detroit and all these experts, but now I wasn't there. I didn't fucking see the show. I had no idea. I didn't even know who he was. And all these experts were saying, oh, you know, the other guy got ripped off. There's no way he could have won. Now, he was one of those guys, and I'll compare him to one of the greats, which was Dorian Yates, in this aspect, that Dorian never looked as good in pictures or videos as what he did live. When you saw Dorian live, and I was there for his first, I actually emceed his first show in America, which was the Night of Champions. He lost to Mohammed Benaziza. I was there through his career, through his first Olympia competition. When Haney beat him, I was there for his first win. I was there in Finland. Anyway, so on. Yeah. And every single time you'd look at him and go, shit, everyone else looks like they're carved out of wood. Dorian looks like he's carved out of granite. Yeah. But you don't see the picture. So forward wind to the New York Pro this year when I saw Martin Fitzwater compete. And, dude, he was so fucking good. I'm like, all those people were talking smack about him in Detroit. They haven't seen this guy's skin up close. They don't see what the judges see. This is just one example. Right. And I was super impressed with his physique. You know, him and Nick Walker were 1 point from each other, very different physiques. One super freaky, you can't deny, but the condition of this guy you cannot see in a fucking picture. So at the Olympia or any other pro show, the judges have the best seats in the house. They've got the best lighting, they've got the best view, and generally they do a really, really good job. The politics is all just an excuse. Normally for people who don't have their condition, or little fanboys who want their person to win. So I kind of it grinds you when people carry on social media about so-and-so should have won when they're not, either one, they're not qualified to speak, or they've never been to a show, or two, they're watching on their fucking laptop in their basement or their gym or whatever. And I get that here as a promoter where, you know, someone won't win a show and one of the coaches will get their nose put out of joint and go online and say, oh, my athlete should have won, and they weren't even fucking there. Or they get really vocal about it and they're experts and this and that. Going, why would we care who wins, you know? And I've had this conversation all the way through to the top. As promoters and officials, it doesn't really matter to us who wins, you know? And then people say, oh, it's politics. And when I do my posing seminars and bodybuilding seminars here, I always say, look at the first year that Hadi Choopan beat Derek Lunsford at the Olympia. That was really close. I remember, you know, because I'm backstage, I can see what's going on. I knew after prejudging it was just a couple of points in it. Now, if it was politics and it was rigged, you're going to give it to the guy that wears the hearing aid, no offense to him, from a village in Iran who can't speak English, who can't really promote the sport, or you're going to give it to the all-American boy, Derek, right, who praises the Lord, and he's got piercing green eyes, and he's handsome, and he's engaging, and he can talk, and he's just the poster boy for bodybuilding. But it's close. Who wins? The Iranian wins because he was a little bit better. Yeah. Right? There's no politics. Because if there's politics and it's that close, you'd say, fuck, give it to the golden boy, right? Yeah. And then the next year when Derek wins, all the Iranians go, oh, it's politics. I'm going, well, fucking what about last year? Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Not even there. You know, I had guys in my gym saying, oh, you know, Hadi was ripped off, you know, this politics. I said, stop. He won last year. What the fuck are you talking about? Yeah. So this sort of stuff drives me mad. So I don't really critique physiques from pictures. If I'm at a show and one of the guys will ask me what I think. And, you know, I remember through all those Olympias, because people know I talk straight, right? I don't sugarcoat anything. So after those prejudgings, when it was really close, you know, Phil and Hani Rambo, they come up to me and go, what do you think? How close is it? And they'd seek my opinion because they knew I would tell them exactly what I saw. Yeah. And then George and Kai come and ask me the same thing. What can we improve? Where is he beating us? And that sort of thing. So when I'm at a show and I give someone live feedback, I'm more than happy to do that. But I'm not one of these internet experts who see something in a video and then, oh, I'm going to fucking be a critique. Get fucked.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
That more playing than that.
Yeah. No. Valid points, and you're right. You can only make an opinion so much on a live stream or a video nowadays versus the judges that are up front in person that can see the details, the skin, the flexing, all of that. So it does make a difference. I need to get your opinion on Samson Dauda. Samson Dauda has all the, potential in the world to be Mr. Olympia. He's been trying. He's been trying year after year. He got defeated by Hadi Choopan twice at the Arnold's this year. And what does Samson need to do? I had Steve Weinberger on the show, and I said, like, what does he have to do? And Steve said he just needs to suffer. Is that what you think? Is it a coaching issue? Is it a
Steve said what?
He's got to suffer to get in shape more.
Yeah. I'd agree with that. He needs to suffer. He needs more pain. I mean, you look at Hadi Choopan's condition. That's no fucking accident, man. And I've interviewed Hadi Rambold about this, and he goes, "You got no idea." He goes, "I've got to literally pull this guy out of the gym. I've got to stop him from doing extra cardio and extra weights and everything, And it's like Ronnie Coleman. He just outworked everyone. No one. And you talk about the guys that were in that Ronnie era. They're like, wow, he just smoked us all because he was willing to do stuff no one else was willing to do. And that's not chemical stuff. That's just heart stuff, It's work. And I think Samson needs to go through a little bit more pain. I'm not saying he doesn't train hard, but he needs to be broken and pushed. And you go back to when Rami won the Olympia. For 5 years, everyone said, oh, this guy's got all the potential in the world, but he never quite gets hard enough. And I'd say to Rami after the show, dude, you can come in 20-pound lighter and still be by far the biggest guy in the show. You're not going through enough pain, You got to be hungry, man. And then the year that he was, wow, look what happened. He won the Olympia. And Chris Cormier is probably my best friend in bodybuilding. And him and I talk about this a lot, about, how people, in his day, they do train till they bled, and then they do an hour's posing every day. And some of these guys aren't willing to do that. So, and I've said this to Samson, he's got to take his conditioning to that next level. He's got all the muscle in the world. The other one that I think's got just as much potential and is frightening is Andrew Jacked. When we had everyone guest pose in Pittsburgh, he was so fucking impressive, man. I'm like, wow, we haven't seen him for a while, and he actually got a whole lot better. Samson just keeps getting bigger, and when he can hone his conditioning craft and present it properly, I think either of those guys could be untouchable. Yeah.
Do you think it's going to make a difference him going to Kuwait to train and focus, and like he's already big enough? Like
it doesn't matter what I think or what you think or any fucking thing. What matters is what his skin looks like when he gets under the lights.
Yes.
And you can be in Timbuktu, you can be in Nigeria, you can be in Melbourne, Australia, you can be in Kuwait. Yes, some guys have gone over there and got big, but other guys have gone over there. For example, look at Rolly Winkler. He went over there when he had that distended stomach and he wasn't at his best. You look at Brandon, he went over there, and what did they get right by going to Kuwait? They got their condition right. They were really big.
Yeah.
Okay. Like Rolly took his condition to, when he won the Arnold Australia here, dude, he had no skin. There's nothing left, And same as when Brandon won and so on. So I've seen guys go over there and everyone thinks, just go over there to get big. Well, that's probably true if you're small to begin with. Yeah. But Samson, like the biggest guy on the planet right now. So obviously he's going there to bring another factor to his body. So I imagine he's gone there to get super conditioned. And also one of the reasons the guys that go to Kuwait love it is because they have no distractions, right? There's no party. There's no one in their face. There's no one annoying them. They get driven to the gym. They get a chef, they get someone packs up their weights. Someone prepares their food. All they have to do is just focus on training and posing and cardio and getting in shape. There's no distraction. And that's why a lot of the guys would go out there for months at a time just so they could just be all in,
Yes. Okay. Speaking of Big Ramy, what's your opinion on him? Can he still make a comeback here? I think he's going to compete this year, but based on what I think so. I think he's going to compete this year. There's Dennis James said on the Menace podcast that he just split ways with Patrick Tour. So I think he's making some changes here, and then he's going to come into this year's Mr. Olympia. But based off what you saw previously, does he still have what it takes to win a Mr. Olympia and come back and win it? Or you saw his triceps started to kind of deflate a little bit, and is there atrophy there? Like, you see these physiques, so what's your opinion?
I think last time he competed, there was something wrong with his back. He seemed to have lost, that density and muscle mass in his back. So, maybe he had some injuries or something. Yeah. But overcome all of that. I mean, Rami at his best could still win anything. I just don't know what he looks like right now. And I love him. He's one of the nicest guys and greatest ambassadors and most real people in bodybuilding I've ever had the pleasure of working with. And I'd love to see him come back at his best, But bodybuilding is a funny thing, man. Like, the sport moves forward all the time. And sometimes when you have an extended break, you come back and you think, I've still got it. And you do until you get backstage. I remember when Jay did his comeback, right? Yeah. And I saw him backstage and I'm like, dude, you look like the old Jay Cutler. You got to really give them some trouble up there. And backstage, we both believed it. Then when he walked out, I'm like, oh, whoops. Okay. Yeah. The sport's gone forward, and you didn't, And I'm glad he did that to say goodbye to the fans. So I'm not going to get drawn on what Rami's going to look like this year because I haven't seen him.
True, that's true.
Or his condition. I just don't get into this kind of internet gossip. He said, she said. Anyone at their best, I mean, anyone who's won the Olympia title at their very best is fucking dangerous. I mean, Dexter was a dangerous motherfucker at 50 years old.
Yeah, he was. He was. It was amazing.
Like it's some people too. They're, and I'll go back to say Martin, who I was very impressed with at New York. He's the sort of guy that he's going to catch someone napping. He's going to catch someone overcarbing, or just not getting their condition right, and he's just going to go snap. And Dexter did that for his whole career until he won the Olympia, and he won more Arnolds than anyone because he was always on. And I think bodybuilding really, at that level, to be winning pro shows, everyone's got to have a ton of muscle, but conditioning and presentation is everything. Yeah. So they've got to get that conditioning right. And sometimes the bigger of the biggest guys, Samson, Rami, these sort of guys, it's almost like they've got some muscle dysmorphia where they don't think they're big enough to go, but I've got to be the biggest. Down. Dude, you are the biggest. I'd said to Rami, I'd scream at Rami. I'd say to Dennis James, Rami, go, he can come in 10 kilograms or 20 pounds lighter. He's still the biggest guy by 30%. Yeah. And the more conditioned you are, the bigger you look. So to me, it's all a game of conditioning, and you don't know what anyone's going to bring until showtime. That's what makes our sport so exciting.
Exactly. And I know
you can ask me anything, but this is the way I answer shit.
Yeah, well, no, that's why I have you on. You're just a straight shooter, so you're going to say it like it is. And Neckzilla, Rubiel, he was supposed to come to Australia, wasn't he? He was supposed to do some tour there or something.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what happened. We did a video and a post, and we made an agreement that he was going to come out. And then, he said to Chris that, his new manager had him double booked and he could go make a ton of money somewhere else. And so I just wished him well. Yeah. I'm like, dude, if that's how you roll, that's how you roll. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I say to you, I'm going to come on your podcast or we shake hands, that's a deal, dude. Yeah. No amount of money or time or anything in the world could change it. And unfortunately, I think when people are coming up, people get in their ear and say, no, you can make a whole lot of money going left instead of right. But that's okay. Yeah. No hard feelings. I wish him the best. I think the guy's a fucking monster, and I can't wait to see him live. That's
another, like, your take on Neckzilla. Like, I know he's doing the Dubai Pro Show, so we're going to see what happens.
I can't wait to see that because I haven't seen him live. And during that time when we were getting organized to tour here, we did some video calls, and as I said, Chris is my best friend, and but once again, I don't know if he's willing to go through that pain to do what he has to do with that physique. But if he listens to Chris Cormier and suffers the kind of pain that Chris can inflict on him, and I'm not talking about just with training, but with diet and being hungry, dude, he could be another Ronnie Coleman. He's a freaky looking
It's unbelievable the genetics he has. And yeah, he's in Kuwait. He's with the team there as well now, too. So we'll see. And Chris is over there right now. So I'm over there.
Just to clear that up, dude, I wish him all the best. You know,
yeah.
Forward to interviewing him. I hope he can get his English right so we can have a fun interview. But he may be the next big thing. But once again, you know, seeing people in the gym and seeing people on Instagram ain't the same as getting under lights in front of Big Steve and all the qualified people who know exactly what they're looking for. You can't hide on stage.
Yeah. Do you have any predictions for this year's Mr. Olympia? Do you do any predictions? I don't know if you do predictions or if you speculate.
My prediction is the best man will win.
Best man wins. Good.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, you know, as it gets closer, there's still people that haven't qualified yet that could make a big difference. I don't think, for example, Andrew Jack hasn't qualified yet. Rubiel hasn't qualified yet. Yeah. You put those two in, they could be top 5 guys. I don't know. Yeah. I think, you know, right now the top 3 are clearly the top 3, but then you've got a few others knocking on the door that could do some serious damage, and it's going to come down to condition at that prejudging on Friday night. Who comes in with that paper thin skin?
Your greatest bodybuilder of all time. You've met them all, so you're lucky. You've been there. You've seen them turn pro. You said you saw Dorian's first show in America. Like the experiences you had is amazing. Yep. Who is your all-time? Does it mean that they're the best? But just in your eyes, most impressive, most like shocking. Like this guy is on another level than everyone else.
It's not even my opinion. It's a fact. Yeah. There's only been one Ronnie Coleman, man.
Yes.
Like, listen, last year in 2023, it was 20 years since we saw that 296-pound Ronnie Coleman at the 2003 Olympia. And to this day, he would have won every Olympia since then in that shape. No one's ever going to touch that. And I remember I interviewed Ronnie in 2005, and I'm like, hey, Ron, is anyone going to beat that 2003 Ronnie? And he just thought about it. He said, not for a long time. Yeah. And I said, what about you? Can you beat that 2003 Ronnie? And he thought about it for even longer. He goes, nope, not even me. So whatever that to me, it hasn't been beaten yet. It's 20 fucking years, man. Like, and you know, I've seen every Mr. Olympia since Lee Haney won. I've interviewed every one of them. I've watched them win. I've watched them lose. I've watched them everything. And to me, people say, "Oh, that's your opinion." It's not my opinion. It's a fucking fact.
Yeah.
You know, and I've talked to Phil about this. I've talked to Jay about this. I've talked to all the Olympians that have competed after Ronnie. They're still shaking their heads, just going, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about this on the Menace podcast with Milos and Chris Cormier and Dennis James, and they were saying Lee Haney, and I said Ronnie Coleman was is the best by far, and they were like, no, Lee Haney. I'm like,
I think Lee Haney was a great Mr. Olympia, and he was ahead of his time by far, and then Dorian was ahead of his time. Yeah, but I think the one that changed the game. I mean, Arnold changed the game because 70s Arnold still would have been, his body parts, particularly with the technology he had back then, would have still been competitive 20 years later. So you look at the ones who changed the game. And then, Dorian, the first mass monster with that kind of conditioning. Haney was the first big guy with this amazing taper. And I idolized Lee Haney when I was coming up. But who changed the game the most and took it to this level? Ronnie at his very best. To me, I just... I've got pictures of Ronnie in the gym, and I still stop and just go, what the fuck?
Yeah. There was a video that you had. Ronnie was in Australia. He was training. He was wearing like a white tank, and he ripped it off or something, and he was training with you. You were there. What I was trying to find it on. I was trying to find it on YouTube because I wanted to show it to people here. But
it was a
what year
video
was that?
GMV video made called "On the Road with Ronnie Coleman," and I was interviewing him. And in fact, I saw a clip the other day, and it was the skinniest I've ever been because I'd just become a dad. And wasn't training at the time and this and that. But it's a funny story because we had Ronnie guest posing at this show. It was 2005. 2005. And it was an amateur show. And he came along to the pre-judging, and he was selling pitches. Ronnie loved to make money. He'd be sitting there signing pitches. I said, Ronnie, you want something to drink? Nope. Ronnie, you want something to eat? Nope. And then we finished the pre-judging, and we're going to kick everyone out and let them back in for the finals. He goes, no. He goes, check they got finals tickets because they've been in line all these hours. Okay. And he literally sat there for 12 hours, right?
Wow.
Signing pictures, just having a nibble or a shake or something, but no food. And we promised that we were going to do this video back at my gym after the show.
Okay.
So we came back here and he goes, man, I'm so hungry. So we went up to the barbecued chicken shop and we got two. I know what you guys call it. We call it a bachelor's handbag. You know, the chicken and the barbecue chicken, the salty one. And we got two of those. And Ronnie, he ate the whole one himself and most of the next one. Yeah. And I've never seen anything like it, but I'm sitting there looking at him and you could see the veins coming through his clothes while he ate. And he sat there for like half an hour doing stretching. He goes, all right, let's go. Let's do it. Yeah. And we filmed that at midnight.
Oh, wow.
Starting a show at 9 in the morning. So 15 hours.
The same day. Okay. Almost.
He's just wolfed down these salty chickens and shot one of the greatest videos ever made. Yes. And I can send you through some pictures. Yep. I've never seen vascularity or strength or madness like it. We were still filming at 2 in the morning. Yeah. And Ronnie's just like, yeah, buddy.
He was training. Was he training legs? He was training legs in that video.
Legs and back. I remember him doing T-bar rows with like 9 plates at 2 in the morning. Just go, fuck. You know, it was just one of those moments you never forget. Yeah. And Ronnie was a little different.
He definitely was. He definitely was. Well, we're going to wrap it up. Is there anyone you want to give a shout out to or a thank you to?
No, I think I did that early on. You know, just everyone in the pro league for having my back and you know, giving me my shot. You know, to Arnold for giving me the shot, for Jim Manion for always believing in me and keeping me as part of his team, even though I'm probably the most remote part of it. You know, I really do appreciate being able to do what I do in the sport. I've never forgotten where I've come from. And, you know, to all the people that come and supported the Australian Pro and believed in, you know, my crazy dreams, that's why it worked, you know. But I've mentioned them all in this interview and I can't, I probably missed out on someone, but just everyone that reaches out. And, you know, if you don't follow me, easiest way to get me is on Instagram, Tony Doherty Oz. That's OZ at the end. And you'll always answer thing. Give me some more followers, Matt, because I love posting up stories and some motivating stuff and try and keep it real for people, but also to help a lot of men with their mental health. Yes. And I'll go back and finish with that because that's what I started talking about when we went through that lockdown, that for a lot of guys, the gym is a way of coping. So I say to people, manage your expectations. Don't think the gym's going to make you a multi-millionaire or do anything else, but it's going to get you through some really, really tough times. And to anyone out there that's watching that might be doing it tough right now, we've just come out of June, which is Mental Health Month for men. And a lot of us, we don't talk about our problems, right? We bottle it all up until we explode and either hurt ourselves or someone else or whatever. And that's not fucking cool. No. So guys, lift your weights, have discipline, get up and be active every day, be useful, pack as much living as you can into each day, and don't be scared to reach out to a friend if you're not doing so well. And that includes me. You know, if someone just needs a kind word, hit me up because it's tough out there. And I think the one thing we've all got in common is we love going to the gym, right? Because it just keeps your head straight. So keep your head straight, everyone. Keep pumping, and big love to you all.
Awesome. Words of wisdom from Tony Doherty. Man, thank you for coming on the show. Definitely going to have you back on again. And we will catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.